Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me today in the first of our 13 refresher training sessions that we have in store. My name's Tom. I work with the client engagement team here at aXcelerate. And today I'm going to be giving you guys a brief overview of contact management in the system. If you look at the screen now, in front of me are the upcoming sessions that we have planned. Feel free to sign up for these or view them as a recording on our support YouTube channel. Now, today we're going to be looking at contact management, and this entails, firstly, getting a contact into the system. We're then going to look at updating or changing that information once it has been saved to the system. As we go through and add a contact, I'm going to be highlighting vet information fields, which are compliance related and very important to fill out correctly. We're going to be looking at adding an organization to the system. We're going to be looking at updating an organization's details once it's been added. And we're going to finish off today by looking at finance and RTO contacts within your general system settings. Now, I'm going to navigate to my aXcelerate dashboard, and predominantly today, we're going to be using the contacts tab, up the top left. Now, firstly, what is a contact? A contact is any record of a person that you want to keep in aXcelerate. It doesn't necessarily have to be a student. It can be anything ranging from a student to a trainer, to one of the student's parents, to the student's great-great-great-grandfather, if you wanted. You're not billed by the number of contacts in your system. You're billed by the number of billable learners, which are a whole different ballpark. Contacts are just a simple record we're keeping in the system of a person. Let's go ahead and add a new contact today. Now, there's many fields on the screen. Not all of these are required. So I'm going to work through and populate some of these fields while creating an example. And we're going to look at the important fields along the way. So I am Mr. Thomas Bassingthwaite. My preferred name is Tom. Now, organization, I will leave blank for now, but we will come back and look at this shortly. Now, I'm not going to enter my real date of birth because I don't want any of you calling my internet service provider and pretending to be me. Now, position here, this relates to the organization above. Again, we're going to come back and look at this shortly. Contact details in here, simple, I'm just going to say 0404 040 404. Email address is going to be tom@aXcelerate.com. And if I click this button here, it pre-populates the email domain as the contact's website. Now, none of these are required fields. I always recommend adding an email, especially if you're a turbo client, because if you add a contact without an email, they won't get a system-generated email to access the system if they're a student that needs to access the system. So in some instances, very important to have an email in there, but it is not required for creation. Now, scrolling down to the address field here, you'll notice that this is the first required Vetmis details area. Now, you'll see that all we need to report on is the suburb and postcode. So for example, I live at 123 Fake Street in Deception Bay, Queensland. Now you'll notice here, I've typed in Deception Bay and it's pre-searching all of the suburbs and postcodes that are in the system. Now again, the reason it does this is because these are required Vetmis details. Every student that we report on has to have these fields. Now, if we type in a suburb and it doesn't appear, that's because the suburb is not on the Australia Post official postcode list, which is where aXcelerate pulls the postcode information from. So if you can't find the correct suburb and postcode, look on Australia Post's website and verify that the details are correct. Now that we've added all of these to the postal address, I can simply click on the street address arrow and it pre-populates the field there. Now, scrolling down, vet-related details. Some of you watching this will see what I'm seeing where it's hidden, whereas the majority of you watching this will see what I'm seeing now, the non-hidden equivalent. Now, vet-related information, much like the address-related information, must be filled out for students. This can be ignored for general contacts you're saving to the system that are not undertaking accredited training. If you had the key contact of an organization that you just wanted to keep a record of in the system, you wouldn't need to fill this out. If you're adding a student who has come to you guys to study a certificate for in work health and safety, for example, you will have to fill out this information, and it's very important you do. It's all compliance related and ties into your government funding. Now, as an example, I'm going to go through here and fill out some of these locations. So I'm a male and I was born in Australia. City of birth is Brisbane. Australian citizen. Now I'm going to leave these blank. Now, of course, filling this out, you guys at the RTO should have this information. If you don't, I would recommend contacting the student and obtaining what is required. Now I'm going to go through and select no for the remainder of these. Great. So when we create a contact now, all these vet-related details will be saved and will be included in our VetMIS report once we run that out of the system. Now, student identifiers. Everyone should know what a USI is at this stage. You can pop this in here. If you need to apply an exemption for a student, you may have the option to, depending on your account setup. Now, scrolling down, now actually before I do that, these fields here, as you can see, are local government required fields. So you likely won't have to fill these out unless, of course, you're in Queensland or SA, in which case you would have this information to enter. Next of kin details, you can enter in the emergency contact section. And additional information down the bottom is where we can add some further, I suppose, information, funnily enough, about the contact. For example, we can say where this contact was sourced from. So if I click on here, this person came from seek.com. If you need to add a source that isn't on your list, hover over your system settings at the top, and you can add a new contact source through this button here. If you wanted to add contacts, coaches, supervisors, employers, etc., you can enter them here. But note, it'll be searching for a contact. So the person you want to enter here must already be entered as a contact in aXcelerate. Now, contact categories down here, we can categorize the contact as per a list that we have created. So I could say, for example, this person is an employee and they're a trainer. If I wanted to add additional contacts that aren't on this list, sorry, additional categories, just like we did with the source, we hover over the settings button at the top here, and we can add contact categories. The comments field here is a general comment that will be saved to the contacts profile. So I'm going to say, Tom is a trainer. Now, note type. When this gets added to the profile, we could say what sort of note we wanted to record this as. If there was a complaint or a compliment, we could categorize that accordingly. And if you don't have options in here that you want, Again, go up to your system settings and you can add additional note types. I'm going to leave this blank and create the contact. You'll now see that my details have been entered into aXcelerate. On the left here are my general information, or is my general information. I can click on other information to see where I was sourced, the comment that was associated with me, who last updated the contact, and when they were added to the system. And down here, vet-related details are those compliance-related questions that I answered. Now that we have a contact in the system, if we want to go in and change any of this information, we simply click on the update button here at the top left, and we're back on this familiar screen, can work through and fill out the details just as we did earlier. Now, organizations here, what I'm going to do is open a new tab, keeping this one on this screen. If we hover over contacts and go down to organizations, I'm going to open this in a new tab. Now, these are any business that we want to keep a record of in our aXcelerate system. These aren't system-wide. This relates to your personal aXcelerate account. So let me correct that. When I say your personal aXcelerate account, I mean your organization's aXcelerate account. My apologies. Now, for example, let's have a look at aXcelerate. Perfect. I can see aXcelerate is already an organization that's been added to the system. So if I go back to my contact and I go into organizations and I type in aXcelerate, or at least the first few letters, it's going to search through that organization list and present any to us. If, for example, I typed in Hungry Jacks, which we don't have in the system, it's going to, okay, we do have Hungry Jacks in the system. That's very impressive. I'm going to type in Pillow Talk, which we definitely won't have in the system. You see how that will think, and these three new options have appeared. If I then clicked Key Contact, for example, along with updating or creating my contact, it's also going to create this organization, and it will make Thomas the key contact of that organization. So to see what this looks like, I'm going to click Update Contact. You'll now see that organization Pillow Talk has been included. I could click on Pillow Talk and it would take me through to the newly created organization page, or I can navigate to Contacts, Organizations. Let's type in Pillow Talk. Look at that, it's in there now. Let's click on this and we're back on that same screen. How easy is that? Now, if I wanted to add a new organization, it's as simple as coming in here and clicking Add New Organization. We can add it when creating a contact like we just saw, but I'm going to flip it and create the organization now. So I'm going to call this, let's call this Blanket Talk. I'm going to say the employer is Wes from aXcelerate. And I'm going to proceed. I don't want to add any other information, but I will highlight here the categories field. Just like we did with contacts, we can add categories to organizations. And again, just like with contacts, hover over System Settings and go to Organization Categories. I'm going to leave that blank and click on Submit. This has now been successfully added to aXcelerate. If I click on View, look at this. We're now in the Blanket Talk page of aXcelerate. Now, breaking news, Pillow Talk has just acquired Blanket Talk. We can actually reflect that in aXcelerate by adding Pillow Talk as a parent organization. So I'm going to click on Update at the top left here. And I'm going to look at this parent organization field. And I'm going to type in Pillow Here we go. Pillow Talk. Again, it's done a search for the organization. If we type something in that isn't in the system, it's not going to create that org. It's just going to say, hey, that organization doesn't exist. I've selected Pillow Talk. Now, when I click on Update, pay attention to this organization tree down the bottom. So let's update this. And you'll now see that this is almost like a family tree. And we can see that Pillow Talk is the parent or the owner of Blanket Talk. So we can reflect companies and all of their sub-organizations, I suppose, within aXcelerate, keeping them all linked together. Now let's come in here and let's have a look at merging organizations. So let's just say that these two organizations, just for an example, are now merging. One hasn't acquired the other. They're simply merging into the one organization. We can tick both and then select merge. We then need to select the information we would like to remain. So for example, I want this to stay as the organization name. So I'm going to tick that. Summary and notes, you can see that this organization on the right has no notes. So I'm definitely going to select that I want these ones to stay. And if we select the first option and click merge, it's then going to delete the first organization and essentially just merge it into the predominant one that we have kept in the system. Now, if we go back to our contact, I'm going to search for contacts and I'm going to type in my last name and first name. Here I am. So let's go in and have a look. Now, I do want to mention portfolios, which are a fantastic underutilized feature in regards to contacts in aXcelerate. Portfolios let you record documentation for specific contacts against their profile. So if I click on portfolio, for example, you'll see that I've got nothing in here right now. If I had ever been enrolled in a class and issued a certificate out of aXcelerate, that certificate is recorded in here. If I wanted to, actually, you know what? I'm going to give you guys another example. I'm going to navigate into my contact profile. This is my genuine account that I'm logged into now. And I want to go into portfolio and I'm going to add a copy of my driver's license. It's not actually going to be my driver's license, guys. Don't get excited. I'm just going to show you the process. So I've clicked on portfolio and I'm now going to add new portfolio item. Portfolio type, I'm going to select that it's a license. And I'm going to select in here, look, I'm not actually going to put in a copy of my driver's license just yet. Actually, maybe I will. Let's manage portfolio types because I can't see a way to actually enter my driver's license. If I click on this and then click add new portfolio type, we're able to add additional categories to the system. So for example, I want to add the ability to upload a copy of someone's driver's license. So I'm going to call this driver's license. I'm going to call this issued by the Australian government. Now, validity period isn't the period that the license itself is valid for. It's the period that you can go without citing it in aXcelerate. So if I entered 12 months, for example, and submit this, awesome. When I upload a driver's license, that will be valid in aXcelerate for 12 months. After that period elapses, you'll see that my driver's license has expired. We can also tick never expire, and it will just permanently be a document that stays in aXcelerate. Now down here, we can choose what category we would like this in. These aren't compliance related, so you can store this information however you'd like. Now, I would say that a driver's license is a license. So I'm going to select that and submit. What happens now is if I navigate back to my contact profile and I click on portfolios, add new portfolio item, I've got license selected. Now I can choose driver's license. So let's select this. I could enter my driver's license number, say who it was issued by. So I could say Queensland Government. If I spell that might even be better. Now here you can add the actual issue date and the actual expiry date of the license itself, keeping in mind that we entered it would expire in aXcelerate in 12 months. So we'll still get a warning in 12 months, even if we set this as a different date. If we wanted to add particular details to aXcelerate, or sorry, in regards to this license, we could add it in here. Now we actually upload the file. So let's pretend that I have a JPEG image of my driver's license, and I'm going to update that into the system, click on submit. We're now in my contact portfolio, and where we were looking before and it said no information, we can now see that there's a driver's license issued by the Australian government for this particular contact. If we click on here, we can see even more information about it, and we can download the file just by clicking on the link, and there's a menu for where we were going for lunch at work the other day. So guys, what we've looked at here is adding a contact into aXcelerate. We've looked at updating that contact once they get into aXcelerate. We've looked at the compliance-related fields that we can fill out while adding a contact. We looked at adding an organization into aXcelerate and changing those organization details. We looked at setting up a parent organization and merging two organizations together. We're going to be wrapping up the session today in our system settings down at the bottom here. Now, there are a couple of important fields that I want to highlight to you guys. The first here is within the core settings. If we scroll down to the finance contact, this is who we at aXcelerate will be sending invoices to. If you needed to update the recipient of the invoices or correspondence from our accounts team, update the finance contact at the bottom by clicking the plus and searching for the contact's name. Once we've added them and saved, let's have a look at the RTO Vet Settings tab and scroll down to the Vetmis Reporting Details. Now in here, this information is crucial. This is all compliance related. If you have one wrong piece of information in here, your entire Vetmis reports will return errors. I'm not going to be able to tell you what to fill out here. Each organization would be different and will have the information they need to fill out here. Just make sure you triple check and that it's correct. Now, the RTO vet contact is the owner of the business, and it's very important that they are added in here, both from a compliance point of view and a functionality point of view. It's a design intention that specific accredited functionalities do not work unless we have added a contact and completed this field here. Now, in terms of general system settings, this page, RTO Vet Settings, is very heavily compliance related. You can probably tell, seeing as it has the word vet in there. You can set up various compliance related information. You have various toggles here that you can change to yes or no. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. You guys can read through in your own time. If we scroll up to additional options, this is all finance related. We won't be looking at this today, but we'll be in an upcoming session. If we scroll down, I want to highlight these fields here. These are some various yes or no toggles that we can use to change general settings within the system. So have a read through there and see if there's anything that you want to turn on for your organization. And finally today, in the core settings, I want to show you guys the common terminology fields here. You can change various labels throughout aXcelerate. By default, you can see that we refer to someone who facilitates training as a trainer. And we can see that if we hover over contacts, trainers are in there. If we now click on this arrow and click on teacher and save this, if I hover over the contacts tab again, that now says teachers. I'm going to change this back to the default, but feel free to go through and change various terminology to suit your business's language, I suppose. And on this page as well, training administrator email address, you can have an email in here. This will be the default email that correspondence out of the account comes from. And the organization name is the trading name of your organization. It's what a student would see at the bottom of an email signature. Now, guys, thanks very much for your time today. We've covered everything that, that was listed in this contact management session. So for those of you watching the recording, thank you very much for your time. The next session that we have is going to be, let's have a look-see in here, on qualification management on the 24th of June. So if you're watching this live, I look forward to seeing you in the next session. If you're watching a recording, thank you very much for your time and stay posted for more as they get uploaded. Thanks very much, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.